Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host. And today I'm here with Melissa Mckenzie, and she's the owner of Carbon and Clay. She's the mother of 5, and she is going to teach us how to build our list. And we all know that if we have an online presence, that we absolutely need our list. One of my friends just found out that he was in Facebook jail for a little while, and he lost his entire Facebook account, had to start all over again. So if you own your audience, then that's not going to happen. And so, Melissa, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks for having me. I am Melissa Mckenzie, the owner of Carbon and Clay, and we live in Alabama. I'm a mom of 5, 9, and under. So I only work a few hours a day, which means that I really do rely on my website to do most of the heavy lifting for me. And I've had so many friends, same thing, same story, where they have a ton of followers online. They make a lot of sales through social media, and then they get hacked or something happens and they lose their account and they have to start all over. And one of the main ways that I build email lists is through my website. So if you have your lead magnet in the right place, and there's different places that we can put it on your website and really kind of lead people to it, then we can be building our list organically with the traffic to our site. And so I really help all my clients make sure that their website is set up to be closing out the sale, collecting the leads, getting the next sale for them so that they don't have to rely on social media so much.
That is fantastic. And you always you can do your social media, but drive it to your website, right?
Exactly. They kind of work hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. So, mother of 5 with 9 and under, more power to you. I have 6, they're 24 to 9. So there's always a gap. That's a lot. Especially now I understand when you said this summer, it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about the 4 things that most people don't know your website can do.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of times we have this misconception that your website is just like a online brochure. It's to send people to kind of show them a little bit who you are, what you do. But when it's set up correctly, it can be capturing leads for us. It can be getting inquiries into our inbox regularly. We can be getting found on Google by our dream clients. And we can really kind of have control over the journey that they're taking so that we can, whether that's it all depends on your sales process, but if it's booking discovery calls, if you close through email marketing, if you want them to buy directly from your sales page, we can make sure that we have the flow set up to where we are literally leading their eye and their mouse to what we want them to click on next.
That's great. And you talk about your dream client. So for those of you that don't know what a dream client is, dream client is the person that you are speaking to, so imagine yourself in a crowd of people and you yell out, "Hey, you," how many people are going to turn around? But if you say, "Hey, Melissa," you might only have 5, right? And so that's your dream client that you're trying to get to. And if you can speak to those people specifically, you're going to reach other people, but you're going to get your audience that you actually want. And so I love that you that you talk about that. How do you get your website to build your email list? How hard is it? How often, how much time does it usually take to set up like that?
Oh, once it's set up, it's set up. That's what's so nice. It's like social media, you have to if you're not showing up, you're not getting anything because your posts live for, I forget, it keeps getting shorter and shorter, but people only see them for a very small portion of time. And then it's like a fraction of your following actually see your posts. When you have your website set up and you are consistently, whether you're a podcaster or a blogger, you're putting out content for those dream clients, like we talked about, you're going to be getting found on Google organically, but it can also work with paid advertising. So whatever you're using to send traffic to your site, whether it's organic traffic, paid traffic through ads, collaborations, there's so many different ways. Once your website is set up in the right format and the right order, there's so much testing that website designers do to know what to put where, because it does matter. Then you're going to have a conversion rate for your website. So your conversion rate is, if I send 100 people to my website, I know that 20% of them are going to get my freebie. And then you can work backwards from there, like how much traffic you need from your website or to your website. So once it's set up, it's set up. So the hardest part is really just finding that freebie that attracts your dream clients.
Gotcha. So what do you do for the client? How do you help us?
So I do a lot of website redesign. So if someone's been in business for like 3 to 5 years, usually a lot of times our business has kind of shifted or pivoted. And a lot of times we'll find ourselves with a website that maybe we DIY'd in the beginning, which worked for us okay then, but it's kind of a jumbled mess now. And so what I'll do is I will take a look at your website, and we have a 5-day process. So we start on a Monday, we launch on a Friday. The average website cost is $5,000, but I used to do custom sites for a really long time. That's how I started. But about 3 years ago, I got into website templates because there's so many investments that are good to make in business, but I had a hard time. I felt like there's so many entrepreneurs who needed a good website that worked for them, but it didn't make sense to spend $5,000 on a website, especially if they're pivoting or shifting. And so what we do is we have templates that really saves us a ton of time and save our clients a lot of money. So our package is $1,800, and it's a done for you website in 5 days. Because we're starting with a template that's been tested and tried, the website flow is pretty much the same if you're a service provider. And so with starting with a template, that we just kind of plug in your colors, your brand colors, your fonts, your images. We help you figure out the copy and the flow of everything into your offerings. And so that's really what we help people do, is like organize and rebrand to make a website that makes a little bit more sense for the user.
Gotcha. That's great. And it's easier for you because you know it's done, and so all you do is fix it all. And I think that that's fantastic that it only takes 5 days. And so after that, do you help maintain, or do you teach people what to do after that, or do you set up all of the lead magnets to the actual capturing and delivery if somebody buys something?
Yeah, so on Friday, the launch call, we will walk you through the back end. We use Squarespace, and the reason is because we've had so many people come to us who have been using WordPress, and they're like, I've paid a designer for this site and I can't even change out an image. It's breaking all the time. Squarespace is so user-friendly. It's really drag and drop. And so we teach our clients how to use the back end so that they have the control of their website in their own hands. And we've had so many people switch over and are like, this is so easy. Like, I wish that I would have done this sooner. So we do teach you, and we give you a library of videos. So most of our clients actually maintain their own sites. You can come back, but a lot of times it just doesn't make sense because it's so user-friendly for the client.
Wow. That's fantastic for the client, not necessarily for you, right?
Right.
So if somebody is creating a website and they might not have the $1,800 right now, what is your advice? Like, what does a website have to have in place in order to be booking more clients?
Yeah, so we do have a template shop. So you can get a template and do it yourself. It comes with a customization library of videos for just $197, and then there's some support that goes along with that. But if you we're like, I can't even do that. Like, I just want a DIY, or I'm not on Squarespace. I'm not willing to change. I would say that if I were to give you three tips, it would be in the top navigation, make sure that you have no more than 4 to 6 links. People think about how you interact with a website. Um, People are very overwhelmed. They want to find things really fast. We live in a very like convenient, I need it now world. And so people are not willing to click around and find what they're looking for. So if we kind of, if we have like 16 links at the top, they're not really sure what to click on, and they would actually rather click the X than to find what they're looking for. So make sure that you have a user friendly navigation at the top. The second thing is I would make sure that you keep it simple. Most websites, if you're a service-based entrepreneur, really only need a homepage, about page, contact page, so someone who is inquiring about your services can get a hold of you. And then either a sales page for like if you have one offer, or if you have multiple offers, have like a services page where it kind of has a summary of your different services, different ways to work with you. I would say simple is better than like keeping it simple is best. And then I would say third, know your overall goal for your website. So your website may have more than one, like maybe you want to get people on a call, grow your email list, be seen as an expert. But what is the one main goal? And so for everyone, that's going to be different depending on if you close sales with sales calls, if you are just wanting to grow your email list. So when we have that in our mind, we're going to have an easier time figuring out what our buttons should lead to and what our buttons should be throughout the website. Because if we have that main goal, we know that every single page should pretty much be leading to that main goal.
That makes sense. That totally makes it easy. And I think
Yeah.
it goes back to just like when you're starting a business, what is your goal? What are you wanting to accomplish? Who's
Yeah.
your customer? Who are you trying to attract? And it has to make the same sense in a website. You need to know what your goal is. I love that. And you broke it down really easily, because I'm thinking of all the different websites I have. I'm like, yeah, I probably should redo that. So how do you balance motherhood with business? Because it's a struggle sometimes.
Yeah. So I, on average, work about 3 hours a day. And I know some people are going to think that's crazy. Like, how do you run a business like that? I will preface that by saying that I've been in business for 11 years now. So I have really kind of honed in and learned what my best task, like ROI tasks are, like my best return of investment. When I sit down to work, I put my phone on silent, turn it over. Like I know what my list is for that day, and I just work through it as fast as possible. And if it's not done, it's not done. And I do it the next day. I mean, obviously, some things like client work and tasks like have to get done. So I have just a boundary for myself as my kids are little. I typically only work if a babysitter is here, which I have 2 days, like they come for like 3, 4 hours at a time, 2 days of that. And then when my little one is napping or the kids are in bed. So it is like a sacrifice of, instead of watching Netflix when the kids go to bed, choosing to work on my business instead. But it really just kind of separates my business brain from my mom brain. And so when they're awake, I'm present with them, and I have a lot of systems in place, and I have some people on my team now that help me. So I would say it's definitely possible, but it's like it's a daily thing that you kind of have to choose and make sure that you're not putting too much on your plate.
That is fantastic advice, because as a mom, if you choose to have children, you only have them one time and you only get one shot. You know, you don't get a do-over, which I wish sometimes I could have a do-over, but it really is that time where you have to prioritize what's important to you. I was listening to a podcast on my run this morning, and listening to somebody who has been married 3 times. And he said the first 2 times, I will be honest, my life was about building my company, building my brand. And my wife, or my wife's the first 2, they wanted to be on a farm and they wanted to be able to be at home and have a family life. And he goes, that just wasn't me. And so when we realized it was so polar opposite, it wasn't going to work. And so I think that that's one of the things that you have to really sit down and think about before you choose to have children is, what type of a mom do I want to be? Is it someone who I want that for the, so I can say I have kids, or do I want to actually be a mom and be present with them? And then decide what your profession is. And that is the whole goal on this podcast, is to be able to decide, if you want to be that mom that wants to be present with your children, kid, let's learn exactly like you. You're the perfect example of that, of learning to balance that in a way where you can be present with your kids, but there is a way to still make it work. And creating systems and processes and setting boundaries for yourself. It is a daily choice, you can put schedules, but your kids, things come up, and so making sure that you're able to figure that out, and especially during the summertime.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I had a remote job for a while, for the first time, because we actually, I got married a week after I graduated college, was very career minded. And then we had twins.
Yep.
Within like they were honeymoon babies.
Oh, wow.
And so I never like went to have a career. And a year and a half ago now, maybe 2 years ago now, I was looking for a remote job. Things had changed after COVID. There's so many more options to work from home, because we were raising money to adopt our 5th and final child. And I got a creative director role. And even though I was working from home and they said it was flexible hours, it was not the same as running a business. Like, you can't just cancel a call because your kid gets sick. Whereas like when you're running your own business, there's so much flexibility. Like, yeah, it's disappointing when that happens, but there's so much more flexibility with setting your own schedule, to where I usually have so many calls that I do a day. Like, I won't do any more than 2 typically. And just like having the flexibility to do that, running a business is, I've recently left that job in the beginning of this year. And I thought that was my dream job. And then I got into it and I was like, this is terrible. Like, this is so much pressure. I don't know how both parents work all the time. Like, I don't know what you do during summertime and, when they get sick. And so I'm really blessed to be able to do what I do from home and be able to really put my kids first.
Yeah. And I think also, when you work, you give your all and everything. Like my husband, a couple weeks ago, shows up to work, and luckily he'd worked like 37 hours that week, so he only had 3 more hours to go. But he got called into the office, and he's a contractor, like a contract work where he works for somebody else, but he's hired with this company who's contracted with this, and they just said, nope, we don't need you anymore. And you're like, oh, okay, and so as a business owner, I go, okay, let me figure this out. How much are you making? I need to make up for that until he can get another job, because he hates what I do. And so, I'm like, come to work with me. He's like, no. But it's easy to sit, okay, I need to just ramp it up and figure out what else to do until he can get the job that he wants again. And so there is that flexibility where sometimes I'm going to have to work a little more, but I got to be honest, I love him being home. He's doing all these projects that we've needed done since we moved into this house. And so I'm like, honey, it's okay. And so, but I always call it the season of life. And there's different seasons of your life, and figuring out what works for you. Maybe right now it is where you're working 40, 60, 80 hours a week because that's what you want to do. Or maybe it's working 3 hours a day, It varies for every single person, but finding out what works for you and being true to yourself, being true to your family, That's what's most important, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And it's so hard to keep that in perspective, but it's like I said, it's like a daily
right.
thing. You may mess up one day and then the next morning's a new day and you can be like, okay, I'm gonna, turn my phone notifications off and do what I say I'm gonna do.
Yeah, very true. Okay, so I know that time's short because you have to get going, but my question to you is I want you to imagine yourself at the park, which I'm sure you can do that very well right now. And so you go to sit on a park bench, and right next to you is a pregnant mom for the first time. And so, it doesn't have to be like a brand new mom, but what advice would you give this mom, knowing what you know now as being a mom? What advice would you give her if it could be anything?
I would tell her that I hate the saying the days are long, but the years are short. So I would say it in a different way. I would say that it's not always going to be like this. It's not always going to be like this because when you're in those toddler years and it's your first time around, you think that is your life for eternity. And it's not. Like you wake up one day and realize you have 9-year-olds and like it's different now. So I would just encourage her that the tough times do not last forever.
Right. And if you're like me, add another 9 years to that, and your son just graduates, and it's literally the blink of an eye. And it's hard. It's hard to realize you're not going to have those kids anymore, like in your house. So cherish those moments.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Carbon and Clay, or you can always email me info@carbonandclay.co. Don't do .com. That won't go to me. And I look forward to anyone who reaches out.
Well, Melissa, thank you so much. And a website truly is your pathway to your business. You need to make sure that you have traffic, and the traffic has to be funneled to somewhere. So it is essential. So if anybody's looking to build their business or to figure out how to get a website going and you're not sure how to get started, then go check out Carbon and Clay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being on our show.
Thanks.
And moms, have a fantastic day. See you later. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.